Tonight, more drama and division at Melbourne. Caro takes us inside the story while Nathan Buckley plots his next move. What Brisbane need to do to get fair income about a finals run and the woes that Collingwood are facing. Plus, the emergence of doubts at St Kilda from one of their leaders. All that ahead. Get ready. This is The Agenda Setters. Good evening, welcome to The Agenda Setters. Plenty happening, let's dive in. Caroline Wilson is with us, the multiple Walkley Award-winning and Alf Brown Trophy winner, the four-time best and fairest and 300 gamer in Port Adelaide, royalty in Kane Corns, and the five-time All-Australian and a lazy six Trevor Barker medals for best and fairest in Nick Riewoldt thrown in as well. Great to see you all here tonight. We start, Caro, with the ongoing woes at Melbourne. There's some unrest or at least some uncertainty about this handover now, which could further complicate the coaching appointment.
Yeah, I'm confused, Craig, and we'll move on to the coaching situation in a moment, boys. But let's first have a look at the letter Brad Green put out to members at the end of last year when Stephen Smith agreed to take on the presidency. Should the members elect him, I'll encourage Stephen to seek board endorsement to succeed me as president at the end of the 2025 AFL season.
That's Stephen Smith, president-elect.
Correct. Stephen Smith comes to Melbourne, is not happy about the internal review run by Gary Pert, does a bit of reviewing himself with Brad Green, not much changes. There's that big and now infamous media breakfast, Kane, that we now look back and told so many stories at the start of the year. Stephen Smith goes overseas on a long-planned sabbatical. Last week, before Stephen Smith returns, the coach is sacked. I'm now firmly of the belief that this was a Brad Green-led decision, although the appointment of Paul Guerra, I think, was an all-of-board decision, and certainly Stephen Smith was in town when it happened. So move forward to now. In recent weeks, there's been scuttlebutt that maybe there won't be a handover. The 3AW rumour file even reported in the middle of last month that it might not happen, that it would not happen, in fact, not confirmed, not denied. So my understanding now is that there are people at Melbourne who think Stephen Smith should take over right away. He's back in the country, there's a new coach to be appointed, he's on the coaching subcommittee, and of course there's still no CEO, and there's a major football review starting at the end of August in which all positions are open. But now we hear that Stephen Smith is not taking over immediately. In fact, he won't be taking over until at least the end of November and probably early December. I think this is a big mistake. Now, I understand that the conversation has been had at board level and Brad Green has assured fellow board members that he doesn't want to take the job on long term, despite reports otherwise, and that he has a young family, etc., and he's ready to hand over the reins. Why December?
Yeah, so why the delay? If the letter that Brad Green outlined last year said the end of the AFL season, that's 3 weeks away. So why would it be the end of December?
Well, my understanding is that the message coming out of Melbourne now is that Brad wants to stay on until the end of the AFLW season, which is seen as the end of the AFL season proper. Now, I'm sorry, there's an AFL season and there's an AFLW season.
There's no reason for that. If you're going into a new era, you would just make the shift.
Absolutely.
And why is he the one making the call on the coach if he's not going to be there? You're saying it's a Brad Green-led decision to remove Simon Goodwin?
I think Stephen Smith was aware of it, certainly. Paul Guerra was part of it.
Should it be a Brad Green call if he's not going to be there, if he's finishing at the end of
I
the
always
AFL
felt
season?
the timing of the sacking was really odd.
Why?
I mean, well, they just had an 83-point win. Stephen Smith wasn't back in the country. There was no full-time CEO. So clearly the decision was made by the then president, and still president, Brad Green. I don't know where Stephen Smith stands on all of this. The board is having a meeting about everything, including the coach, tomorrow. But my view is this is folly.
Do you think...
If I was Steve Smith, I would be walking to that meeting and insisting that I take over as president now, because the new world order for Melbourne has begun. It is already in train, and Steve Smith is, if he indeed does become president, which Brad Green is now assuring it's It's going to happen later than expected. He's going to inherit all of the decisions that are subsequently going to be made over the next 3 to 4 months, including the appointment of a coach.
I'm not convinced Melbourne is completely united, even now. And I mean, this goes back to...
that Brad Green is hanging on to this power and he wants to hang on to this power?
Well, I have doubts about that, Nick, but I mean, we go back to the appointment of Paul Guerin. We reported on this show that Keith Thomas was also being looked at for the job, but Stephen Smith was overruled by some board members who were concerned about some Gaza tweets that worried them, old tweets. I mean, there's just been little things along the way that hints to me at a lack of stability. Let's have a listen to what Lee Matthews said about the coaching job and the CEO role on 3AW on Saturday.
But for any potential coach, Melbourne looks like a really unstable club to me. Like I know from personal experience, a football CEO is really valuable to the senior coach. Now, Paul Guerra is not a football background person, so he's going to be the new CEO at Melbourne. So if I was a prospective coach looking at the Melbourne job, I'd be thinking to myself, unless I'm desperate for a job, there's a lot of things about that club that wouldn't appeal to me as a prospective coach.
And that's going to be their challenge in the cell to Nathan Buckley and others, if there are indeed others of that ilk. I mean, and just on Brad Green, he's done the right thing and a great job in jumping in for 12 months to be a transition to this. So you can't forget that he's been selfless in
he certainly hasn't been treading water.
I agree with you that the time is to hand over earlier because you need a new broom to get on with it. But you shouldn't forget that he did step in the absence of Steve being ready a year ago and did the right thing. On Nathan Buckley, so the power pendulum swung on this in 4 days, right? If you look at this landscape, last Thursday, there was 5 coaches they were going to kick the tyres on of all senior experience. Really, that field has thinned. I mean, Ken Hinkley's hand hasn't been shown yet. But the 2 other big players, let's call them, Longmire and Simpson, are out. And Nathan's got competitive tension around him now. It's not him pitching himself against the others. It's them, Melbourne, pitching him against Tassie, which we'll talk to in a moment. So he controls the decision here a little bit. I think if he wants the job, it's his job.
Craig, I reckon...
Without doubt.
I reckon that Melbourne were way more interested in Nathan Buckley than they were in John Longmire or Adam Simpson. It's even been suggested that there'd been unofficial conversations between the club and Nathan Buckley before they sacked the coach.
Prior to Simon Goodwin, which was
understanding.
categorically denied at the press conference.
That's my
unofficial. They've had a crack at Luke Beveridge and Nathan Buckley before they sacked Simon Goodwin.
They've certainly been prepared to look at both of them, and I think conversations took place.
And then Nathan would be... This story won't help Nathan's view because Nathan's got to get past the instability that's there to make as part of his decision making, and he sort of hasn't. I mean, he put his hand up in essence last week, but today it was interesting. There's a little bit more balanced on it, I thought, on the Waitley program.
I mean, I'm not going to do blow by blows as we go through this. I've been out of coaching for a little bit longer, so I know exactly where they're at. And I'm still working out whether I'm there or whether I'm in. So I'm well and truly on the fence. But there's a raft of really good options and there'll be a raft of really good eventualities. And I'm prosecuting whether I'm one of them.
So he's on the fence in the parlance of today and there won't be a running commentary. What's the better job, Tasmania or Melbourne?
Depends if he wants a premiership. I mean, I think if you're Nathan Buckley, you are desperate to get a premiership. Now, your best chance of getting that right now with the job is Melbourne's. You've got enough senior players there. You've got some young players coming through. It's not ideal, and the lack of stability, I understand it, I get it, but they're far more advanced in winning a premiership than Tassie are.
If Tassie they are, because Tassie aren't there yet.
So what do you want? You want Bucks to be 60 when there's a prospect of them even being ready to compete?
Well, there have been other pretty successful 60-year-old coaches, and I think Nathan Buckley is could be a history-making coach. I wrote about it in The Age on Saturday. I think with all Melbourne's issues, I think Tasmania is way more compelling.
If they come in, Caro, there's a lot more instability at Tassie than there is at Melbourne.
They're coming in 2028. They're going to have some wonderful list concessions, and it's a great job.
So give it 5 years before they're even looking like playing finals at Tassie. It takes you to 2033.
Whatever you think, the other dispute, and I reckon there's a bit of this internally, is where Melbourne are actually at. Can we have a listen to what Brad Green said at the coach sacking press conference last week?
You know, we still believe we've got a list that we should be playing finals, we believe, as a board, but we don't shy away from that.
That would have gone down brilliantly with the Goodwin camp, but, I mean, what does a new coach do? Does a new coach come in and say, listen, I disagree, we're trading Petrarca, blah, blah, blah? Or does
that's right.
What would you...
Well,
where do you think
that's the
they're at?
question, and that's the big danger, I think, for the Melbourne board, is for the Melbourne board to weigh in too heavily as to where they think they're at and what they think the list is capable of at the moment. It's a dangerous practice. We saw St Kilda get in trouble with something similar, and then Ross Lyon came in and he realised within 12 months that the list had been overestimated, and then you have to cut. So I think whichever coach is coming in, I think there needs to be alignment before you even make that appointment on what the path moving forward
What does
looks
Stephen
like.
Smith think? He was also on
Does
the
the old
coaching
president have a
subcommittee.
different view to the new
That's
president?
right. That's
Yeah.
why you've got to
Get sorted.
Get the people that are going to steer the ship for the next 3 to 5 years in the seats now, so you can make these
But
decisions
But one of
collectively.
those on the coaching subcommittee is Alan Richardson, who several months ago was no certainty to keep his job. Now, maybe he'll be at the club next year, maybe in a different role, but look, confusion reigns.
One thing is for certain, the new coach has to have a hard edge. And what I've seen at Melbourne is the softest rubbish ever, where they are so petrified of the senior players to the point where even the caretaker coach had to pander to the senior players post-game.
I thought our leaders were fantastic all week, led by Gorney and Vines. Ed in his 200th of the track. They've had to deal with a fair bit, but to go down to against a team who are in really good form and are pushing for finals by a goal and right in the last minute, couldn't be prouder of the group.
So I want the Dean Cox approach
What
with the
else
new
is he
coach.
wanting to do?
What's wrong with that?
He's got 3 weeks to
the
go.
leaders were fantastic, were they? I'll tell you what a leader's job is to perform well and do your job on game day. And
But
do you
they
think
are
they
a
did
great
that?
team.
I thought Max
I thought
Gawn
they got-
played really
yeah,
well.
I thought they got
at Clayton actually showed some of the better signs that he's shown all year.
Yeah, I thought their
He's a
midfield got
caretaker
destroyed.
coach. He's got to get the senior core
You're all
on board.
doing it. You're all on board. Let's just make sure
But they did
that
nearly beat
Petrarca's
one of the
happy,
best formed
that
teams in the
Oliver is
competition.
happy. Let's make sure Viney gets his 3-year
Oliver had
contract
one of his better
extension.
games.
Let's
That's
make
all-
sure
that's
we
all-
can't say
that's
anything
all been
negative
done.
about Clayton Oliver, even though he's been such a distraction for so long.
think-
The new coach, Dean Cox, get him in there. Multiple 2K time trials back-to-back. Surprise him through
Hardly the
pre-season.
job of Troy
The hardest
Chapman.
pre-season you've ever seen, and a hard-line coach is
Do
what
not
they need.
disagree with any of that. Don't disagree with any of that.
Don't
But I
pick
reckon
on-
to whack
don't pick on
Chaplin
the
for pumping up the
caretaker.
No, they're
leaders
just
is
all
fine.
petrified. Doesn't matter who you are.
But he doesn't care. He doesn't
Righto.
even want the job.
That's rubbish.
I think you're hard on the caretaker. It was a
No,
reasonable
you're all-
opinion of
you're all-
Simon Goodwin.
you're all
but it's a-
sucked in.
teammate he looks too.
Brad Green's the same. Oh, we're going to start them centre bounce.
Well,
the best and fairest. It goes right through the club.
Kane, take a breath. We're going to move to Carlton. Tell us about Michael Voss, Caro, the decision to back him in, and what do you think we'll see around him now, and how much change?
Well, look, it sort of looked impressive, didn't it, after the rather messy stuff at the Melbourne Football Club that was really only saved by the Goodwin press conference, I thought. There will be changes, and there's obviously going to be a big footy review. It was a bittersweet response by Michael Voss in his end-of-week press conference, and a bit defensive, I felt. But my view is that I know Carlton, I understand, are making a big play for Danny Daly, who is obviously the Brisbane head of footy and is being sought after by several clubs, could even be looked at by the Melbourne
In the
Football
same
Club
role?
as a head of football. I know you've interviewed Danny Daly, and I think got out of him that he'd be interested in the senior
I think he'd be
coaching
great.
role. Well, who knows? If Nathan Buckley pulls out, maybe Melbourne will have a look at him. But there will be big changes across that Carlton Football Committee, but not Michael Voss. He'll be there for the start anyway.
Let's move to Collingwood, who are the talk of the town. 4 of 5. The Brisbane we'll get to as well. They're in a similar situation, not quite as severe as Collingwood. Nick Dacos starts on the bench. Make sense of this for us, if you can, Nick and
Well,
Kane.
I can't make any sense of it for you, Hutchie. 22 minutes he played in the first quarter of a must-win game against a finals contender. I just wonder whether it's a message to Nick. That's the only thing I can think of. Clearly, physically, starting him on the bench is going to be no advantage. He either plays or he doesn't. I've been saying all year he needs a rest, but they haven't done that. Is it a message to him that perhaps he's gone outside of team values and team rules, and this is one way
In what way?
to pull him into line? Well, has he been calling for the footy in the wrong spots? Has he been disgruntled with his teammates? I'm just asking the question because there's no other reason that I can see your best player, who led all the stats, we showed it pre-game, would
Yeah,
start on the bench.
it was surprising to all of us that were there when the news came through that Dacos was going to start on the bench. And then you ask the question, well, have they been tipped off that there's going to be a hard tag, and so they're trying to throw off the Hawks? But then with the Howe injury, it ended up being sort of close to 10 minutes that he was sitting there until he actually got on the ground. So it was a strange one.
I would think the contract, the volume of contracts and the uncertainty of the level and who's going on and who isn't, and 1 years and 2 years,
Is having
and
an effect
Elliott
on
and watching.
performance? Yeah.
I think it's part of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no easy way through it, right? You can't leave 17, 18 decisions till the end of the year, but the volume of them, and then you had Perryman coming on big money. They're reading in the paper, so I got no doubt.
Isn't
there's
this
an element
just,
of that?
Is that not just a natural byproduct of having an older list? That the commitment you make to a lot of these players, it's not going to be what they've been accustomed to throughout their
Yeah, but
careers.
it's who you prioritise. Like even Cameron getting the 4-year extension takes him to 35. My check saying, well, why is he getting 4 and I'm getting 1?
Form would probably have a bit to do with
Yeah,
it.
but my check's been pretty good for them for a
He
long
has.
period of
He
time
has.
and a very popular member of the team. I just wonder whether the charm of the coach is just wearing off slightly as well, and particularly when you make comments about other teams that come back to bite you. Here he is on Fremantle's ball movement.
They play good brand of footy when they're up and going fast, isn't it? Like, maybe they should play a bit more of that at times. It's a good version of them.
And since that, here's the vanilla
That
pies.
was like a month ago.
Yeah, it was. So since then, really, the numbers have dropped off a cliff. You can see it there, defensive 50, all the key offensive stats that would say they are vanilla. And ever since that comment, it's probably come back to bite him.
It was a big move to completely reshuffle the footy department, put Justin Leppich ahead of list management, which Craig Kelly did last year, at the start of last year or whenever it sort of took place. And there's some questionable decisions now. You just wonder how well they're going. And the Jack Silvani, I can't find a coach who wasn't pretty unimpressed with the Jack Silvani going on the second day press conference.
Yeah, and the on-field problems are significant in many areas, and Kane and Nick have 10 best and fairest between them. They are our visionaries, and they take us inside what's going wrong with the Pies.
Yeah, so there's the offensive stuff, Hutchie, and clearly the defensive stuff is an issue. So a lot of spot fires that Collingwood must put out. So here we go, the defensive numbers for the Pies. We've seen the offence, there you go, and that's the drop-off. Scores per inside 50. They were first, they're 14th. Everything, and you can read through it, has fallen off a cliff. So that's the numbers. What does the vision look like? You were there live on Thursday night, Nick, and you were bemused by what you were seeing. Let's start with Billy Frampton.
We'll start with Frampton. So his ability to lose front position, to lose touch and feel. We're talking about a guy that was a really important contributor, lockdown player in a grand final. And then, again, no bodywork on Chol whatsoever. So you're essentially just a caravan getting towed all over the ground. So we thought the inclusion of Howe and Frampton was going to shore them up behind the ball, but they were all at sea again. I mean, just the lack of reaction time here on Gunston, too crafty, too clever, and they walk goals in.
So clearly there's some craft stuff there, but there's also a lack of desire and effort that we saw from Billy Frampton then. And then every time the ball hit the deck inside Hawthorn's forward 50, it looked like they were going to score. I don't know what the captain's doing here. Take possession, take the contact, don't hit it straight down to the most dangerous forward on the ground. Nick Watson had an absolute field day in the first quarter. 5 ground ball gets inside forward 50 in the first half. And then, look at this, they got the numbers, but no one takes responsibility.
So Ned Long out in front of the Wizard again, and just no awareness. So no turn the head, no awareness of what's behind you. And the most dangerous small forward on the ground, he's just allowed to roam through the inside 50 arc all by himself. This is the issue. If Collingwood aren't marking that ball there and it comes to ground, Hawthorn were all over them. Ball on the deck in the D50, danger for Collingwood.
And then in the air, just not strong enough as well. We could have shown probably 4 or 5 of this, but lack of contact there. This time on Maynard, young player on Deer. Give him a run and a jump. There's no scouting there. Clearly that is his biggest weapon. And then on the goal line, outmarked again.
Yeah, these are the coach killers. These are the ones that Craig McRae referenced in his post-game press conference. Lloyd Meek, 3v1. So you get what you deserve if you're Collingwood. Lack of physicality, lack of pressure, and defensively, what was a strength is now a weakness.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Kane. Before we hit the break, Caro, quickly, the AFL investigation finished today as soon as it started into an incident that was bizarre on field involving Smith and Blakey of Lions and Suns and Swans respectively. Here's the exclusive 7 vision of what happened. You be the judge of the incident or lack thereof, but that has been cleared tonight by the AFL. I assume they've seen that vision.
Well, I mean, it was certainly unusual. AFL Integrity have had a look at this. I know that Brisbane spent a good 2 hours on the phones with AFL Integrity and footy, and it was dismissed.
I can't believe it.
Your footballers.
I cannot believe that the AFL would look at that and say there's no case tonight. That's one of the more unusual things I've ever seen on a football field.
Couldn't have been just an accident?
Wow.
It
didn't look like one to me.
Well, both players are absolutely fine with it and said it was,
And it's in the clear, but that's the vision for your own assessment. As we head into the break, the Watchtower is back. Some news around St Kilda too, by the way. Stick around for that. We're going to get to that in a moment. Brisbane slide. The finals not a good thing necessarily. All that ahead on a big Agenda Setters.
But the biggest thing in the game is we couldn't win ground ball in our front half. And it was that way all night until the last quarter, and then we win ground ball in the last quarter and we win the quarter. That intensity to lock the ball in by our forwards and by our mids to squeeze in was inconsistent tonight. And they kick 8 goals 7 from their back half. That's the game. And we're minus 22 ground balls in front half, so there it is.
For the second year in a row, a weird season from Brisbane in the home and away. They've been brilliant on the road and underwhelming at home at the Gabatoir, and now they leave themselves in a spot where they've got to win a game at least to make the 8. If you look at their run home, they've got probably the toughest run home to come to, with the trip to Fremantle and then home to Hawthorn, who found form. First of all, do you think they make it, Kane? And then are there things they need to do to shake the place up a little bit?
Yeah, I think they'll make it. I think they'll probably beat Fremantle this week. The Hawthorn game is big. In the last game, that's a 50-50. But I just wonder whether maybe the straw that breaks the camel's back is, for the first time, probably in Chris Fagan's coaching career, he makes a big call at selection. He's been very reluctant to do that, and to be fair to him, he's got the results.
Yeah, he's backed him in.
He has, and I thought last year, I think I said the same thing about Rayner and Hipwood. I thought they should be dropped. He backed them in. He got the result. They're both premiership players. But now Charlie Cameron's form is that big of an issue, and there's all his numbers, and all of them are off the charts. Fewest disposals since his debut season. Fewest forward 50 marks 2017, second fewest of his career in terms of goals. He's been goalless in 9 games this year. And all of that would suggest this is a VFL player, and a player that needs to pay the price with selection integrity at the selection table. I don't suspect Chris will do that. I think he'll back him in again, and who knows, he may get the result.
So
but is this a move that he needs
Leicester
to
and maybe
make?
Starcevic come back in this week. Duday, you think, will probably not play again. He's just not ready. So someone else has got to go.
Yeah, I don't think...
For you, that'd be Charlie
Well,
Cameron.
it's not so much about the personnel, it's about the statement that would make. A big name player pays the price for performance at the selection table. That may kick them
I
into
think
gear.
it might help him too. I think he's playing like a player at the moment that looks like his entire game is defined by goals, and it's got that sort of desperate look about it. So I think going back and go back and kick a bag, and then maybe come back in if your form warrants it.
And Caro, they're one of the teams involved in the AFL documentary, but that hasn't gone smoothly so far either.
No, the Drive to Survive, based on the sort of the motorsport one. AFL staff themselves have now gone on the road with this production crew because they have ruffled feathers, but the really strong scenes took place at the Gabba. I don't think they turned up in the week of the Q Clash. Chris Fagan was absolutely filthy. Said he had no idea that they were coming on board, and had he known, he wouldn't have agreed to it. I think he agreed after a conversation with Danny Daly that perhaps he hadn't really been paying attention, but I don't think he was thrilled. Dane Zorko was one player who has taken place, but they've left the Gabba now. They won't be back. They're at the Gold Coast. I think that there was some dissatisfaction too at the Gold Coast at how many players they wanted to get involved. Certainly Tuke Miller's involved there, and interestingly the Melbourne Football Club have become involved in recent days since the sacking of Simon Goodwin.
A bit out of the St Kilda Richmond game yesterday, and a lot on the Saints, which we're going to deal with in a moment. Just on the Tigers, despite the close loss and the season that they've had that's been better than everyone expected, David King was interesting on Fox last night and again on SEN this morning. He said he didn't think their objective was 100% to win.
So 19 of his 21 were uncontested. Now that is, you can tag a percentage of those off him. And people say, oh, but no one tags. And if you want to win that game yesterday, you're tagging him.
And he's referring to Naz, who's the talk of the competition, and was let run loose there a little bit. What did you think of that, Kane?
I thought it was a strong opinion and a valid one, and credit to him for being as brave as to suggest that Richmond did not really want to win that game of footy.
But why would you bother losing a game when...
strongly from someone who's
I
prepared
think
to
it's actually pretty insulting.
Well, you didn't. Did you watch the Vision?
I was there. I watched the game.
So which criticism to North Melbourne?
Absolutely. For Naz.
For Naz.
Yeah, I always think that.
No, did Kingy?
I'm not sure. I didn't hear that. Yes. But in that game there, if you considering what he has done in the past, to put no one anywhere near him, I think it's valid criticism.
And the jungle drums continue to beat off-field about St Kilda and some of their key players. And tonight, the name Cal Wilkie has emerged, who's potentially the next captain in waiting. He's one of their leaders. He's arguably in their best three players. Sam Edmund joins us, the chief football reporter for SEN. As we welcome you for the first time to the Agenda Setters.
Hutchie.
What can you tell us? Is he disgruntled, and is there any way in which he might ask for a move?
Well, as we go to air tonight, Hutchie, you're right. Potentially the future captain of the St Kilda Football Club, Cal Wilkie, their reigning best and fairest winner and their All-Australian defender, is disillusioned with the direction of his football club. Now, Cal Wilkie is contracted until the end of 2027, but as Michelangelo Rucci touched on SEN SA today, we can provide some more detail around this. He's particularly concerned about the list management workings of his football club. The club's ongoing struggle to retain Nazar Wanganeen Miller at the heart of that, Marcus Windhager, and the way in which Rowan Marshall has been largely kept in the dark, over the club's pursuit of Tom De Koning and how it would affect him, have Cal Wilkie at the moment, I think it's fair to say, considering where he sits at the St Kilda Football Club.
And has he attracted interest from other clubs who might be aware of this?
Yeah, he's been contacted by at least one rival club. Now, the kicker here as well is that rival clubs think he's gettable because Lecalia is going to come in on a contract that's about on par with Cal Wilkie's. Now, he's played 22 games. Lecalia, no one's saying he hasn't got promise, but Cal Wilkie, 29 years of age, an All-Australian defender, future captain of that football club, on about $750,000 a year at St Kilda. So he just doesn't think they're nailing it at the moment, guys, and there's work to be done here. And clearly, as I say, rival clubs think he's gettable for next year. That doesn't mean he's going to demand a trade, but he's certainly disillusioned.
But as a potential leader, does he mirror the reflective views of the leadership group that more could have been done earlier to keep Nazar?
With Nazar for sure. That perhaps the club weren't on the front foot with him, didn't drive a hard enough bargain or essentially pay up to keep Nazar Wanganeen Miller. I think that's fair to say. Marcus Windhager as well, who lives with Mitch Owens and Nazar Wanganeen Miller, very close, those three as well. So the school of thought is that more could have been done in that space as well. So I wouldn't pretend to say this is reflective of the entire group, but we're talking about the senior leaders at that football club.
And Windhager still remains out of contract, which is the other curveball in this. Thanks, Sam, for joining us tonight. Nick, you've been in a similar spot as a key leader at St Kilda, or you were the leader. Do you think what Cal Wilkie's doing, if that is indeed the case behind the scenes, is good leadership to question the direction? Or
well, yeah, I think as a leader, you're always...
Or are you critical of his role in the room?
No, I mean, that's assuming that what is being reported is actually the case. I mean, he's a contracted player. I would assume he's going to be the captain of the football club next year, if indeed Jack Steele is not. So in the fullness of time, I mean, it'll play out. There's a lot of noise, and I think a lot of it centres around.
I'm backing Sam Edmund. I mean, he's clearly been talking to the management, I imagine, of some senior players.
And I'll back the people at St Kilda that I speak to. So we've all got...
It's fascinating, though, that the uncertainty around the St Kilda list continues. Let's get to Port Adelaide. They were gallant, probably the best they played for a long time on the weekend. Connor Rozee, though, Kane, you've been critical. This has been your absolute issue with players.
Round one.
They're 5 points down. He's the captain, Kane. You've criticised Harley Reid. You've criticised Nick Dacos in round one. And your captain gets cramped with 2:35 to go. Where does this sit on the Kane-ometer of being professionally able to finish a game when the game's on the line, Kane?
Yeah, it's a good point you raise, Jim, one that I'm more than willing to answer, and usually I absolutely would question the physicality and the preparation of players that cramp like that. I will say he has been absolutely violently ill. So violently ill may be the reason as to why he was really struggling physically there. He's got a broken hand, he's playing. The vision you showed, he kicked a goal to put them 6 points up with 2 minutes to go after he'd gone forward. That's the only reason that I could think a player at this stage of the year, with his durability and his preparation, look at him, he looks pretty fit, would be cramping at that stage.
Caro, the father-son's on the agenda at the Commission. It's getting some noise around the competition, and the academy continues to be an issue. Yeah,
look, I think the rules won't change dramatically going into next season, having already changes been announced and couched late last year by Laura Kane and her team. There will be tweaks, but I think there's some real tension on the Commission, because on the one hand, you've got the outgoing Commissioner and very senior Commissioner, Paul Bassett, who is backing the views pretty strongly of his brother Andrew Bassett, who is a St Kilda president. We know how strong St Kilda have been. And then you've got the incoming two footy commissioners in Matt de Boer and specifically Greg Swan, who sort of help oversee the academy rules and is very much wedded to them, and I think had some pretty fiery words with the St Kilda hierarchy when they came in recently. So I reckon it's going to be really interesting to see where that one ends.
We might move ahead to the Watchtower. Kane Cornes sits in watch of the competition each and every week. Nothing happens that gets past him on his watch. Kane Cornes climbs aboard the Watchtower.
Thank you, Hutchie. I tell you what I'm on watch for. I'm on Wizard Watch. He's now my favourite player in the competition, so move over Horn Francis, move over Caddy. I'm on Wizard Watch, and I was watching this. So he kicks the goals, and he loves doing that. But what you didn't see is how quick he is with his hands and how clean he is. I think he's now emerging as one of the best handballers in the game, and what we saw on Thursday night was about 4 or 5 examples of that. The ball is gone before you even realise it is gone. He's a weapon. He kicks goals. He does it with his hands. Now, Jack Ross has got an issue. You've got to nail that tackle because there are 6 Richmond youngsters ready to take your spot if you don't nail that and if you can't hit a simple lead-up kick that every good AFL footballer should hit. My man Timmy Taranto, this is the reason you all asked me, and he's had a good year, but you've got options. 2 minutes left. You're a leader. 1, 2, 3, 4 options that you've got to hit. The option that he chooses was not there, under no pressure at all. They lose a close game that they should have won as a result of that. Port Adelaide, you're going to play and you want to lose by a goal. How did it all happen? Missed tackle there. There's a watch on that. 1 missed tackle, 2 missed tackle, 3 missed tackle, 4 missed tackle, and Luke Jackson goes, thank you very much. I'll just lace out the next player and we'll win by 6 points. A disaster defensively early for Port Adelaide. Willie Rioli, same deal.
That
Willie,
can't happen on their watch.
Nail the tackles, please, if you want to be a good football side next year under Josh Carr. This guy's a first-round draft pick, Josh Shin. He's kicked it to a 5-on-1. So Port Adelaide tell me he's going to be a good player with talent. I don't see it. I'm just calling it as I see it because if you make decisions like this, you just can't be playing, unfortunately, as an attacking halfback as well, and he gets too many goals kicked on him. So a watch on that. And then English drifts forward. He's doing this a lot, and it's a big watch, and he's doing it very, very well. But how does this happen? Cozzy Pickett, he points to him. He points to him. Does any Melbourne player, does Langdon want to go to him? Does anyone want to go to Tim English? Once again, you lose by a goal because you break down defensively, and it's the senior players. And this is a watch on the kick of the year, Hutchie. I've never seen a better kick this year than that from Bailey Dale. The craft, the skill under pressure to nail that kick from the kick out. Unbelievable. Had a huge year, has Bailey Dale, the kick of the year.
Beautiful to watch. Always a good watch to Watchtower on Monday night. Kara's call, Ruse Marks, and a big call in the future of a young bomber and a whole lot more ahead. You're watching the Agenda Setters here on the Mighty 7 Network.
Mark down round 22, 2025 as the weekend that finally killed off the bounce, the centre bounce. First, let me take you to the dying seconds of the Sydney-Brisbane thriller at the Gabba. Imagine if this had been a bad bounce. Game over, because as we know, they don't stop the clock for a bad bounce. Thriller ruined. Then let's move on Sunday to the last minutes of the Melbourne Bulldogs game. What hope, I should say, did Max Gawn have, Kane, against Tim English with a non-record bounce? Now, I'm a traditionalist, but I've finally become convinced by the physical and emotional stress, the hatred that the umpires have for bouncing the ball, the umpires shortage, and obviously the need to recruit better umpires. If so few footy bosses, and certainly no players, are wedded to the bounce, then let's get rid of it completely. My understanding is that the last bastion of the bounce, the AFL Commission, are no longer hitched to the bounce train. And let me leave you with the dying minutes of that round 22 over at West Coast, and take it away, Matthew Pavlich.
How important is this centre bounce? No, who's been winning them all day? Adelaide. Get another go. The advocates of throwing it up will enjoy that one.
He said it all. R.I.P. the bounce.
I never thought I would see the
bounce.
day. Kane and I have worked with you for years and years.
That
You're
I would
a
actually
traditionalist.
successfully handle three
You're the
throws.
same person that still wants the VFL back and wants games back at Waverley and wants clubs in their duffel coats. You now are saying, as a traditionalist of the game, that the bounce is dead and you no longer support it.
I reckon the killer was the Max Gawn. I mean, it was 10 points by that point, 7 minutes to go, but The bounce isn't recorded. How unfair is that?
And while we've got you, night grand finals, you'd be a yes?
Oh, certainly not.
He almost got it.
Wow.
Almost.
Well, that is the biggest concession
Well,
I've
I
ever
think
seen.
there's a bit of news in that call. I reckon it's gone.
It's time now for Ruse Marks every Monday night here on the Agenda Setters.
Let's crack straight in. I'm giving Jamie Elliott a C- from the weekend, and here's why. Symptomatic of Collingwood, some bad habits creeping in. Look at all of the options he's got inside 50. Dan Houston, who they're dying to get the footy in his hands, he ignores him, he goes long, touched on the line. There's 1 point. Again, Jamie Elliott having a great year. He's been a great team player, but burning options. Geelong, best inside 50 kick team in the competition. They're hitting those and they're getting better looks on goal. That's 2. And last one, again, you've got an option. DeGoey, top of the square, trying to work into form. You ignore him, you go for goal. 3 behinds on the night for Jamie Elliott. Symptomatic of Collingwood, some bad habits creeping in. Back him to fix it up though. The Richmond back line, it's been a hard place to play, but Ben Miller, he gets a B+. He's been really solid. Add him to the list of exciting young Tigers.
Someone was trying.
Kids, he was good. I love this. It's Ken's world. How happy does he look? He's up and about. A for Kenny. The shackles are off. And we call it Kenergy in the Port Adelaide box. It's great to see the GWS party planner gets an F. When you go to Canberra, you buy fireworks, you heckle politicians, you don't go clubbing at Manuka Oval. Terrible look for the Giants. Lastly, everyone's been asking me today about this mark of Sam Darcy's. If A+ is the gold standard, it's an A- for Sam. Let's break it down. What are you playing?
That's an A+.
I asked you not to play this, but let's compare them. Degree of difficulty over Salem. Mine was over the Colossus Stephen Milne, and I had my eyes looking into the sun. So
yours was an A+.
So he's got some room to move, Sam. Thankfully, he's got another 15 years.
Well, he didn't give himself a mark, did you? Did you give yourself?
Well, I said if A+ was the gold standard, Caroline.
Hey, what a mark from Sam Darcy.
It was awesome.
A bit of fun. The Spill is up next right here on the Agenda Setters. Welcome back to the Agenda Setters. It's time for the Spill. And as we spill into the topics tonight, and Caro, this is a bit of fun to start with. Harley Reid is having a negative effect on West Coast youngsters.
Well, you might think it's funny, Craig, but let's have a look at Jeremy McGovern and his young son as the father did the lap of honour. That's Jeremy McGovern's son flipping the bird at the crowd. Now, I don't blame Harley Reid. I blame poor parental discipline.
No, it's a good fun. They're a great family. Magnificent. Very funny.
I still wouldn't have been too impressed
Very
if my
funny.
son had done
Yep.
it.
All right, Hutch. Cal Ward needs a good career counsellor post-footy.
He does. I reckon I'm the man for him too. Let's take a look
Well, I
first of
reckon
all
Kane is.
at Cal Ward.
It would be strange not being involved in football in some way, but I'd love to be a firefighter one day, so if I can apply for that next year and do that, that would be great, but who knows.
We love the firefighters, but there's no need. And I've had the experience of this. I rescued Kane out of the fire department once. He was unhappy, stuck there, didn't know what to do, worrying about things. Put my arm around him. And
now look at him.
According to the Herald Sun, you walked into the fire station and lassoed him out.
Going to the Logies.
And Cal Ward's got a real future in media and football if he wants. So, but we love the Fireys though as well.
Absolutely, good call. Hey, Kano, playing AFL footy will remain a part-time job. It's
a great call. Great call from you, and thanks for listening this morning. Let's have a listen to Dean Cox speaking on SEN this morning.
I'm a baller.
I think they're back November 10 and November 24. Our players. So, for the younger players, they'll get 5 weeks pre-Christmas. Throughout that, they'll be expected to come back extremely fit and in really good condition and ready to attack a full pre-season.
Their last game is on August 23rd. Their senior players are back on November 24th. That is 93 days break for our AFL players. And you are telling me these are full-time players. It is a joke, and no wonder the skill level, injuries are high. It's for that reason they get far too much time off. That's not including Christmas.
Nick, Aaron Norton's end-of-season form puts him in all-Australian contention.
Yeah, it does, in contention, absolutely. So,
Kane'd have to pick him. It'd be hilarious.
I'd be happy to pick him.
He'd have
if
to be.
He keeps this up.
He'd have to be in contention.
No, he's been
30
awesome.
goals over the last 6 weeks. He's in the best form of his career. Some of the clunks yesterday, and the part of his game that has improved the most is his set shot goal kicking. He does not look like missing, so he's playing with a confidence that he has not had at any other stage during his career.
Credit to Luke Beveridge for sticking with that, with everyone calling to put him in.
No doubt.
Yep,
and
absolutely.
he had an off-season issue and he's been magnificent. The Dockers have found a perfect place for their retiring champ, Kane?
Yeah, I thought Matt Fyfe, you're asking me about, was awesome on the weekend. He came on as sub and really influenced the game. I love seeing it because you thought, how much footy does he have left? He swapped jumpers with Travis Boak after the game, but came into the centre bounce as the sub and had probably 8 to 9 really meaningful touches. So I don't know if he plays this role for the rest of the year, but it was the perfect use of him, and I was just glad to see him impacting at AFL level again.
Announced his retirement today too. Well done on a champion career.
Yeah, what a star, Fyfey. Caro, the Kangaroos provided the highlight of the weekend.
Look, this was maybe not the highlight, but it was a fabulous moment. Let's have a look at Cooper Trenbath.
Yep.
Kick his first goal in AFL footy, but even better, after his teammates get around him, look at his grandmother, Vicky. He sheds a tear, the family get around her. Isn't that lovely?
So good.
I mean, so lovely
Fantastic.
when you see families like
Awesome.
that.
Played well, the young fella as well. Nick, Rowan Marshall should be fined for messing with a man's headband.
Absolutely not. No way. It's a shocking look. I think he's doing us all a favour. It's Bruce Dawes and Bruce Dawes alone, so stay away from those areas. So big road.
That was a free kick.
Was it?
Yeah, he got a free kick for that.
Who can forget this?
Oh,
He's
Cameron
lucky.
Clayton over the fence it went.
too well.
How did that go down for Cameron?
No good. No good at all.
Craig, explain this one for us. Alistair Clarkson is learning to live by the rules.
It's a good pickup. He is the anti-authoritarian of the competition, Clarko. He's a non-conformist. He's a throw the rules out the window. But take a look at this on the weekend.
Come here, Fatih. I need to swap shorts with you. No, I'm feeding him. Yeah, because I'm not allowed to have this sponsor on. I'm going to be on camera.
He needs my shorts.
He swapped shorts to do the right thing. Who said a leopard couldn't change their spots?
Good pickup.
Well done to Clarko. The swipe is on the other side of this
Doesn't matter.
on the agenda setters. How big is this going to be? Thursday night, AFLW season launch here on 7, Carlton and Collingwood at 7 o'clock. The All-Star team, West Coast and Gold Coast after that. With Daisy Pearce at home for the West Coast against the visiting Gold Coast. It's all Thursday night. What a way to start the season. 2 massive games right here on 7. It's time now for the swipe. Kane, you have the honours tonight.
I do, Hutchie. A bit of a different swipe tonight because my swipe is for the opposition teams that give Gardens of Honours when they are completely not necessary.
Again.
Saw a couple of... Credit to Jack. I don't mind the chair off, no worries, by your own team. But Richmond, this is how nice we've become in this game. Let's just stand and cheer for someone who's played 200.
It's called respect.
Everyone plays 200. There we go. There's
No,
the
they
Western
don't.
Bulldogs doing the same thing for a good player. I don't mind the chair off. I hate the Guard of Honour.
So who should get it then?
So I've put together something.
Oh,
A dossier, Kane's commandments, and thou shalt not form a Guard of Honour for an opposition player unless they play 300 plus. And I would add multiple All-Australians to that. Thou shalt not form a retirement Guard of Honour for an opposition player with less than 300 games and hasn't achieved multiple All-Australian status.
What's number 3?
Those presenting jumpers must be stars, Hutchie. I don't want the Sam Wiedemans of the world presenting jumpers. 59 games at the Demons. Where was Gary Lyon? Where was Nathan Jones? Surely. Number 4, umpires. You only get a Guard of Honour if you're 500 plus.
500.
And it has to be your last game. No officiating umpire in a grand final should celebrate by getting a premiership tattoo. That stuff is utterly embarrassing. And thou shalt not swap jumpers with an opposition player unless you have elite status in the game.
Elite doesn't happen.
Boak and Fife, no worries.
Okay.
Anything less than that, don't swap jumpers.
He's got Kane's commandments.
That's fine. They're elite.
Kane,
Elite.
We'll hear more about
4% or
We're running
less
out
of
of time.
players ever play 200
Everyone
games.
plays 200 now, Caro. Everyone.
So
You
arrogant.
can have a listen to this on the
That's
podcast
shocking.
and relive it. There you go. The agenda setters on your favourite platform.
It's called respect,
Daisy
Kane.
and Hodgie are here tomorrow night,
Called
and maybe more of
sportsmanship.
Kane's commandments. Good night.
I'll drag this rock out of the way first. Hang on.